Are stars presented better in AEW or WWE? Here's part 2 of this in today's Wrestling Ramble. For another WWE star that has gone to AEW, we have Miro, the man formerly known as Rusev in WWE. This is an interesting one for me, and let me know what you think about this. I don't feel like Miro has really made that much of an impact in AEW, at least not as much as he made in WWE. And I mentioned this in the previous video, it's hard to really make the comparison, a fair comparison at that, between WWE and AEW. Of course, WWE is going to have more mainstream exposure, they have more viewers, etc. But in terms of just what he's done on programming, how he's been presented, I feel like WWE did him more justice. If you think of whenever he first came up to the main roster after his stint on NXT, he was presented as someone who was indomitable, someone that could not be beaten. He had a long reign with the US title. He was billed as a Russian and had the ravishing Russian Lana as his manager, eventually faced off against John Cena in a marquee feud at WrestleMania. Now, Cena would beat him for the title, which is maybe a questionable decision, but up to that point, Rusev had been booked so well, and nothing in AEW even compares to that booking of Rusev when he first came to the main roster in WWE, and I feel like that says a lot. That's not even taking into account how popular Rusev Day got. And I know some people, the general consensus I feel is that with Rusev Day, they were stifled. They could have made Rusev the world champion or done something more with him and Aiden English whenever Rusev Day was getting popular and getting over with fans. And I don't necessarily disagree that they could have done more with it. I don't know if it necessarily could have been a vehicle to make Rusev the world champion, but they could have done more with it. Aiden English talked about this. He was asked about, I forget what interview he did or who he was talking to, but he was asked about the notion that him and Rusev were punished for getting over or that WWE didn't get behind them. And he was like, that's not true. That's just not right. They saw we were getting over and they continued to carve out time in the show for us specifically. They continued to give us segments to go out and get the crowd going. If they didn't think we were over, they wouldn't keep giving us segments. The fact that we were successful is the reason why we continue to get booked on national television. And I think that's a great point to take into perspective here, is that WWE, the higher-ups, the creative team, realized what they had in Rusev Day, that it was something the fans were into. But I just don't think they saw it as a vehicle, for example, to make Rusev a champion once again. I feel like they thought that ship has sailed, we're not doing that, it's just not in the cards. So if you're to compare and contrast Rusev in WWE to Miro in AEW, I feel like Rusev is the more valuable commodity. I feel like Rusev was treated much better in WWE than Miro has in AEW, and I don't think there's much more to say about that. Aside from if you're going to once again go back to which company allows more creative freedom, probably AEW, which one is a better financial option, maybe it's AEW once again, but in terms of on-screen presentation, character development, who books him better, it's WWE hands down. And I don't think that's a controversial opinion.